Back in December, we talked about your amazing journey. I want to get into that in 1 second, but what about the offseason? How has it gone for you so far? What have you been up to? Bring me up to date.
Yeah, well, the off season's been going really good. Actually, I'm training in LA. I'm training at JLT. It's in Hollywood, and we've been getting to it, to say the least. Just doing explosive work, running up hills, lifting, heavy in the weight room, a lot of explosion work, a lot of linear work. And now I'm starting to get into position work, just focus on, football and playing corner. So it's going really well.
Now, DJ, that sounds about right. I would expect an answer like that from you. I know you're getting to it. Now, that journey I mentioned, it goes back to the fact that coming out of high school, for those who do not know, you walked on at Fresno State. You went to Cerritos College. You shared that 2-bedroom apartment with 7 other guys, and then being an All-American at Kansas State. And then you come back from a serious injury in the NFL. Knowing all of that you went through all of that, how does it feel to be where you are right now?
Yeah, man. Well, it's a testimony to, how God is using me as his vessel, and just the art of, never giving up will take you a long way. And honestly, just looking back at my past, it just gives me confidence. And, I just feel really confident because I put the work in, and, that's just, that's where the confidence comes from, just putting the work in, staying humble, staying hungry, and, just taking advantage of every opportunity. So, my journey just, resembles confidence and, the art of never giving up.
DJ Reed is joining us. And you and I spoke before the Jets game in Week 13 last year. We talked about the interception against the 49ers, the fact that you were establishing yourself in Seattle. It's a team and an organization with a really, really strong culture. How would you describe the culture in the Seahawks organization?
Yeah, well, it starts with Pete, and the culture is just real confident. We're going to do our thing. We're not worried about what the other 31 teams are doing. We're going to stick to our script. And, they actually live by that. We came off a tough loss last year to the New York Giants. And, I thought coming into the week that, people were going to be tight. The coaches were going to be, coaching a little differently. But honestly, it was the same thing. It was the same energy. We did the same thing that we did last week. We prepared the same way, and that told me a lot, because usually, especially in this league, when you come off a loss or losses, coaches, start to get uptight. They want to change things, and I feel like, that's not the way to go. You should stick to what you've been doing to be successful, and that's what the Seahawks showed me last year.
DJ Reed joining us. You mentioned Pete Caroll. This is something really interesting to me. In December, you were starting on the outside, which is a spot where Carroll has traditionally only used tall cornerbacks, but he loved what you brought to the team. He said, quote, DJ is not the tallest guy in the world, but he's a heck of a football player, and he showed that he could find his way to get through it. End of quote. What did it mean to earn that level of respect from him? And what do you make of the fact that this is a guy that really, really likes taller guys on the outside, but he loves you, and you go 5'9" or so?
Yeah, well, like when I came in, Pete kind of asked me, this was probably about a couple weeks before we were about to play the 49ers. He asked me, would I rather play corner or safety? And I told him corner all day. And I told him, I was an All-American at corner in college, so I could really play that position at a high level. And he said, okay. He said, with all these injuries, I'm going to throw you in there. And then, just for him to have the confidence to say that, after seeing me practice, it meant a lot, because a lot of coaches, coming into the league just labeled me as a slot corner just because I was 5'9". So for him to give me that opportunity, I have the utmost respect for Pete.
I wonder, DJ, for instance, in the draft this year, Seattle drafted another DB who's not the tallest guy in the world, and the thinking is maybe you're one of the guys who helped change Pete Carroll's mind about the height of a cornerback. So break it down for me. How much does height really matter when you're out there in coverage?
Yeah, personally, for me, when I'm out there, I don't really, I never thought, a guy was big when I was guarding him. I just felt like it was even playing ground, survival of the fittest. Who's going to win the down? It was never, I'm playing against a guy that's 6'3", I got to play differently. I always, took pride in, the tough matchups or whoever I'm guarding. It was never a height on height situation. And for them to draft Trey Brown, it meant a lot to me because, they broke out of their code, what they, usually been doing for about 10 years since the Pete era. So for them to do that, really showed the confidence that he's seeing in me and how I played. And obviously he's seen similar characteristics to Trey, and they didn't want to pass up on him because of his height. So it's a blessing, bro, to be able to, set that trend. Like, I think it meant a lot to me personally.
100%. DJ, without you, I don't think they approach it like that. DJ Reed is my guest. So last season, he gave you another really high compliment. In fact, one of the highest compliments when he said that you're, quote, one of the guys who reminds me of Doug Baldwin. End of quote. He went on to say that you play with this marvelous attitude that just drives crazy stuff, craziness, end of quote. So what's he talking about in your mind? Like, how would you describe your attitude when you get onto the field?
Yeah, I mean, with me, I just want to set the tone. I think that's the biggest thing, and that starts in the beginning of the game. I just want to set the tone. Obviously, I want to do my job, but I want to do my job at the highest level. And, that comes from film study. That comes from the demeanor and how I practice. And that just, gives me confidence to go out there and dominate the person in front of me. And it's always, for me, it's never been about who I'm playing against. It's always about myself. If I'm right spiritually, mentally, and physically, I feel like I could dominate anybody that's in front of me. That's just my mindset. And, for him to compare me to Doug, that's pretty cool because, Doug, I believe, was undrafted, and, the career that he had was, remarkable. One of the best route runners, in my opinion. I played against him a year before he retired, and, he's a great football player.
Hey, DJ, your point about, look, I'm going to be fine as long as I'm right spiritually, mentally, and physically. I mean, in those areas, do you ever fall off? And if so, for how long? And then how do you get back on path?
Oh, yeah. I mean, of course I fall off. I'm a human. I fail every day, in the eyes of God. But, it's God's grace that gets me through everything. But, yeah, I definitely, get back on track. And that starts from, meditating for me personally, reading my Bible and journaling. But, yeah, I definitely, could get off track. But, it's just that sense of urgency to go back to your system and, to stick to my script. So, I mean, I'm definitely not perfect, but I just try to be consistent.
DJ Reed is my guest. I'm kind of chuckling right now because I'm listening to this, and I mean, it's very obvious. Your humility is coming through, and you're very calm, and you're very poised. But let's not confuse this for a lack of fire. For instance, going into that game against Washington, you said you had, quote, a chip on my shoulder, forever, for real. It's heavy. I came into this game pretty angry, pissed off. I mean, DJ, you never sound pissed off to me. Was that a Washington thing that made you angry and pissed off, or is this the way you go into every single game?
I mean, yeah, it's the way I go into every single game, but, when I'm playing against, good receivers, it gets it, cranked up a little more. I just felt like during that week, I just felt a lot of nervous energy from my team, particularly the coaches, because we're playing against a good receiver. And I didn't like that, so I took it as a challenge, like I'm going to dominate whoever I'm playing against, and I just went out there and had a great game.
We're talking about number 17, Terry McLaurin. I love him, man. I love him. I love his game. I know you're going to be motivated going to every single game. What about that matchup? What did you like about that matchup, and what do you like about his game and respect about his game?
I mean, yeah, like when I watched his tape, he was catching the ball on a lot of cornerbacks, to be honest. He's fast in and out of breaks. He's explosive. He's a deep ball threat, so you have to respect the fade ball when you're guarding him. He's a very good polished receiver. He could catch. So I mean, he's an all-around good receiver. So I just took the challenge really, and I just told myself if he beats me, he has to beat me. I'm not going to give him anything. That's the mindset that I went into the game with.
Game respecting game. He's a pro. You're a pro. DJ Reed joining me for a few more moments. I saw a tweet that you had earlier this week that I thought was kind of cool. Quote, I just watched my JUCO highlight. I was going crazy. Like, when you look back and you see those highlights from Cerritos College, what do you think?
Yeah, I was just watching that a couple of days ago. I mean, honestly, I was kind of surprised how I looked. I thought I was going to look a little rusty, to be honest, compared to now. But, I actually looked pretty good coming on my breaks. Showing a lot of explosiveness on punt return, and the interceptions I got were pretty cool. I had one pick six. I was just watching it kind of surprised, like, wow, look how far you came. But, Yeah, it was just a blessing. Like, and I just thought about the season that I just had, and I'm like, man, I'm doing the same things that I was doing in JUCO, like at the highest level. Like, what a blessing. So yeah, I just tweeted it.